Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Bhagavad Gita as it is, we shall read from chapter number 6, entitled Dhyana Yoga. And today's text for discussion is text number 42. So the Sanskrit is as follows, and the translation and purport is by His Divine Grace, Basic Bhakti Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki. Text 42. Atama Yogina Eva Ule Bhavati Dimatam Etati Dulabhataram Loke Janmaya Adrisham. Translation. Oh, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. Purport. Birth in a family of yogis or transcendentalists, those with great wisdom, is praised herein because the child born in such a family receives a spiritual impetus from the very beginning of his life. It is especially the case in the Acharya or Swami families. Such families are very learned and devoted by tradition and training, and thus they become spiritual masters. In India, there are many such Acharya families, but they have now degenerated due to insufficient education and training. By the grace of the Lord, there are still families that foster transcendentalist generation after generation. It is certainly very fortunate to take birth in such families. Fortunately, both our and his spiritual master, Om Vishnupad, Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, and our humble self had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord. And both of us were trained in the devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. Later on we met by the order of the transcendental system. Om Jnana Atimirandasya Ajnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita also tells us Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Vedi Tattvataha Tyakva Nirapuna Janma Nai Itimam Iti Swajuna. So here Bhagavad Gita is clearly explaining, Krishna directly explaining, that if one comes to understand in total, in internal realization, that the appearance of Krishna, Janma, and the activities of Krishna, Karma, are divyam, are completely transcendental. It is not like the regular appearance of us in the material world, in the material body. So, such persons who have full realization of the transcendental nature of the appearance and activities of Krishna, they do not take birth again in the material body. Tyakva deha apuna janma. No more birth again in the material world. And naitima, it is like Krishna says, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Krishna says like that. So, in this particular verse, and in the particular translation, the opposite is given. The opposite indicates that even the eternal associates of Krishna who do not need to come here, do not need to come here, but they appear apparently to also take birth in the material world. But their appearance here is not because they want to come and engage in sinful activities, or for that matter, to become someone big in the material world, like the post of Lord Brahma. He is the first big living entity in each material universe. Everyone else is little small and tiny and insignificant compared to Brahma in each universe. So in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada speaks of his own spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he speaks of himself. And Srila Prabhupada gives a direct indication that he did not appear in this material world, like everyone else. He appeared because he came from a transcendental family. And such an appearance in the world is very rare. It's rare because it's not normal. It's not ordinary. In other words, they come with another purpose other than material life. They come for another purpose other than material sense gratification. They come for another purpose other than sinful activities. So, one nice early disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he was named by Srila Prabhupada Makanla Prabhu. He has one elder brother who was also was a personal servant of Srila Prabhupada named Narayana Prabhu. And then subsequently in the last several years, Bhakti Prabhu entered the sannyasa ashram and he became Bhakti Madhurya Madhava Swami. So he recalls that that Srila Prabhupada did mention on several occasions that he himself, Srila Prabhupada, doesn't speak like that normally, in general public. But he speaks in the close association of his sons and daughters, actually his disciples. Hare Krishna. Please sit on this side. If you need to sit on a chair, you can sit on a chair too. Can someone attend to him so he'll be near? So he was recalling that Srila Prabhupada did say in the close association of his disciples that he descended from the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. Now, when we take birth in a material body in the material world, we don't know where we came from. What to speak of Goloka Vrindavan? But Srila Prabhupada clearly knows, and he expressed that he came from Goloka Vrindavan. So this particular verse says the rarity of such a personality. And Srila Prabhupada himself mentions himself. On very rare occasions he does that. But he directly says this in the Prabhupada. And our humble self. He uses those words. So one time Srila Prabhupada told an early disciple named Bhavananda Prabhu. And Srila Prabhupada said, I was once in the spiritual world with Shama Sundar, that means Goloka Vrindavan. Not your regular name, Krishna. Krishna is a regular name. Krishna is a broad and general name to be accepted by anyone and everyone as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore Srila Prabhupada named the society International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But Srila Prabhupada said, I was with Shama Sundar. It's a particular personality known as the cowherd boy. And then Shama Sundar Krishna, he requested me, Srila Prabhupada said like that I want you to go to the material world. So Srila Prabhupada responded and he said, what is the material world? In other words, in the material world, everything is Bhaya, B-H-A-Y-A. It's full of fear. Full of? Fear. And Srila Prabhupada used to give an example of fear. He said, when you see some birds out there, birds, and they come for some grains or food, if you just throw some grains, right, they will come. So the birds are like this. Who's going to attack me? You saw that? Yeah. Then even while they're picking the some grain, and then they fly away. Who's going to attack me? So that is called a bhaya, fear. Bhaya means fearless, bhaya means fear. Who's going to attack? Now another type of fear that we live with, but we are so conditioned to, but we don't know it's fear. We send the child off to school. Send the child off to school. Now, cultured parents, not the uncultured ones, but cultured parents, hope the child is okay. Hope the child has eaten her lunch. And if the child is even 5 minutes late to come, where's the child? What is that called? Fear. Maya. Fear. Then somebody is out of a job. What happens? They don't know it's fear, but it is fear. Oh, no job. So therefore Srila Prabhupada emphasize self-sufficiency, self-sustainable communities. To take out only one thing, to take out Maya, fear. To take out Kunta, anxiety, and bring it to Vaikuntha, place where anxiety is not known. Not known. So you can take every move and every action of the living entity in the material world and you bring it down to one thing. It's a place that's full of Maya, fear, full of Kunta, anxiety. Like yesterday I was in the car with Shanta Vigraha Prabhu and some other nice devotees, Prem and Rajashi Prabhus. So one time, he's driving this car, nice car. He's driving this car. Then I said, I was thinking, I live in India. We tell the driver move. He doesn't have to tell him move. He knows what to do. So he's giving way to other traffic, Shanta. Then I said, you go, because you'll stop me for 10 minutes like this, something. You go. He said, no, that's not my car. She's here. Where is she? Haribo. She said, not my car. But I knew who car was kind to us. So he's careful. Why? Because he's fearing. He's fearing. Who is he fearing? His wife. It's very subtle, every move in the material world is full of fear. Full of fear. So I'll give you one last example. They married, then they became parents, and it's the first child that's born. And the child is a girl baby. Not even 1 week young, the girl baby is. The mother is full of anxiety. Who will marry this girl when she grows up? How can I offer this girl to a good husband, devotee, sadhu-like husband? I don't know whether that will happen. The girl is not even 7 days old. See? So this fear is interwoven in every fabric of our thoughts. It's interwoven all over the material world. Every move, everything we do is full of fear. brings about kunta. So from fear brings about anxiety, full of anxiety. So Shyama Sundar is asking Srila Prabhupada in his inner identity in Golok Vrindavan, you go to the material world. And Srila Prabhupada in his inner identity is asking Shyama Sundar Krishna, what is that? What is that? What is that? The material. So, the material world has opposites. It has fear and without fear, fear and fearless. It has day and night. It has heat and cold. It has happiness and distress. It has young and old. It has male and female. It has boy and girl. It has man and woman. It has spring and summer, with autumn and winter. So the material world is relative. It has opposites, and each opposite complements the other to bring only one thing, kunta, anxiety. Anxiety. And that is because of fear, bhaya. But Krishna is, Bhaja Mure Mana, Shri Nanda Nandana, Abhaya Charanara. That Abhaya Charana. The lotus feet of Krishna, who is known as Nanda Nandana, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is Abhaya. So in the spiritual nature, both in this material world, Krishna consciousness, and in Goloka Vrindavan, in its absolute state, is no fear exists. No? Yeah. So therefore there's no fearlessness. There's no opposites. Everything is absolute. So then Shyama Sundar replies, that material world is that place where people are not directly connected to me, are not directly connected to Krishna, Shyama Sundar. See? And this is like the entire Vedic scriptures are saying this. There's so many verses directly in Bhagavad Gita that if you are not connected to Krishna in Krishna consciousness, and the process of the connection is called devotional service, then you live in fear. And that brings about anxiety in the material world. So Krishna is saying in a very positive way that look, those in the material world are those persons who are not connected to me, to Krishna. And the entire Bhagavad Gita is spoken like this. And the entire purpose of Srila Prabhupada in all of his books are spoken for this one purpose, is to connect again to Krishna. So you go there and bring everyone to connect back to me. So then, Srila Prabhupada in his inner identity in Goloka Vrindavan replied to Shyama Sundar that I don't want to go. And the reason that he doesn't want to come to this world, Srila Prabhupada, is that he doesn't want to leave the association of Krishna, Shyama Sundar. Who wants to leave? Only someone who is completely pakla or crazy will live. Because you see in the material world, right? The people who are not Krishna conscious, they are innocent in their ignorance. They are innocent in their... They don't know that they are missing something that's actually one's eternal existence and identity. They don't know. So we feel for them. We feel for them. That means compassion. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada responded to Shyama Sundar, I do not want to go. Then Shyama Sundar replied that I have left so many scriptures there. Krishna is Vadama Bhagavata. I left so many scriptures, like the Srimad Bhagavata, like the Bhagavad Gita. But still, despite me leaving behind, my instructions, and also my devotees have written about and spoken about my pastimes, despite that they still don't want to come. Then Srila Prabhupada, in his identity, asked, what should I be doing? He said, you must go there and you must write these books explaining what I have explained according to their consciousness. According to their consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada did exactly that. He appeared to appear in a family of transcendentalists, and he also appeared to be connected to another transcendentalist who appeared in the family of transcendentalists, Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And he also received the same instruction from Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. Write books. If you ever get money, print books. Same instruction. In the same desire of Krishna, Shyama Sundar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, His Holiness Satsrup Das Goswami one time recalls that Srila Prabhupada was traveling very extensively in the mid-70s, a few years before he could wind up his manifest pastimes with us. So Srila Prabhupada was also, putting a lot of strain and stress on his physical and, in inverted commas, so-called mental health. And then the leaders met with Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles, his leading disciples, and they said to Srila Prabhupada, we are not instructing you, but we are only requesting you to please take some spiritual break. In other words, don't travel for some time, and you can recover your health nicely, and we will make sure that nobody will, we will tell the GBC members of the GBC body that they should manage the society, and you need this because we need you with this, but not in this state of your poor health and you're in so much anxiety of so many problems in the society, management issues and so forth. So they approached Srila Prabhupada with great reservation, because they did not want to feel that Srila Prabhupada must feel that they are instructing him. So Srila Prabhupada just made them feel so comfortable. And Srila Prabhupada said, you should know that I am not your guru. I am not your spiritual master. But you should know that I am your father. I am your father. So if the sons and daughters are concerned for the welfare of the father, they have all the right to be concerned. I am your father. It's a more intimate relationship than being guru, than being acharya. So they all felt very happy. Oh, our father is listening to the children. So Prabhupada said, make arrangements. So they selected only 2 devotees to be going with Srila Prabhupada in one devotee home place. It possibly belongs to Ambarish Prabhu, a nice bungalow near the beach in Hawaii, one of the islands in Hawaii. And Los Angeles is close, by flight to Hawaii. So the personal servant who was noticing that Srila Prabhupada, in order to regain his health, he was not taking his morning walks. But he couldn't tell Srila Prabhupada that. Couldn't tell. So one evening, when the personal servant went into Srila Prabhupada's room to make his bed, and then Prabhupada motioned. Prabhupada doesn't speak much, especially with his personal servants. They should know what to do. See? It's more by consciousness rather than by words. It's a refined consciousness. So Prabhupada, when he gives one look, that type of look means you should leave the room. When he gives another type of look means you bring the milk. And another type of look, you look into the cup of the milk and he says, and that look says not enough gur, gur. What's sugar? What do you call it? Like raw sugar. You say gur? Sugar. You don't know what's gur. Okay. Raw sugar. So that kind of look is there. So after Srila Prabhupada takes his evening milk, another look means make the bed. Another look means leave. So the servant left. So that's culture. That's culture. Culture means you don't tell people what to do. Culture means you tell them without telling them. It's very refined, very refined. Another time, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, he said, Radharani, she never says to Krishna, oh my Shyam, I love you very much. Prabhupada said, that's nonsense in the material world. They use these words. They even write songs about them, sing songs about them, and people get mesmerized and they think it's truth. Everyone knows if somebody tells you I love you very much, they're bluffing. They want something. Business. So, Srila Prabhupada said like that, and Radharani, she doesn't tell Shyama Sundar, oh, I love you very much. Krishna knows that already. Krishna knows that already. And she also knows that, Radharani's whole existence is for the pleasure of Krishna. So there's no need to say that. All Srimati Radharani does is serve. 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 So in the same way, this servant, or personal servant of Srila Prabhupada, he left the room and he went to his room, which is right opposite Srila Prabhupada's room. But before he left, Prabhupada went into the bed and then he put a nice, simple thin sheet, bed sheet over him. And then the servant switched off the light, locked the door from the outside. Prabhupada has his own key inside, and he went to his room. As soon as he went to his room, he was about to switch off his light, and he switched it off So when he switched his light off, then he said there's a light on outside. And he realized the light came on in Srila Prabhupada's room. What's going on? So he came out of bed and he went outside to Srila Prabhupada's door, and he dared not look through the, you could say, lace curtains. Lace curtains. That's very transparent through the window because Prabhupada will catch him. So what he does, he takes his ear and he puts it through the keyhole. Keyhole? And then he hears, something like, Prabhupada is translating. Prabhupada is translating. And Prabhupada says something, and the Supreme Personality of God, click. And Krishna, click. Click. After a few words, click, click. That is called dictaphone. It's called dictaphone. So he's translating. So he went back quietly to his room, switched the light off, and he couldn't sleep. So next morning, went to see Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was up. So then Srila Prabhupada said, today I will go for my morning walk. So he got together Srila Prabhupada's things and they were walking on the beach in Hawaii. So the servant at one time, Prabhupada was very perceptive. Prabhupada said, so, because he knows the servant want to say something. And Prabhupada has this, just one word he'll say. Because they're waiting for Prabhupada to give the indication that they can speak and ask him something. So this is Prabhupada's famous word. So, so the servant said, Srila Prabhupada, it seems to be that last night that you did a lot more translation than some other nights and days. Then Srila Prabhupada said, oh, you did not sleep also? He's not answering his comment or question. He's concerned that he did not take enough rest. Yes, Srila Prabhupada, I did not sleep. So then how do you know that I was doing translation last night? Then he admitted, Srila Prabhupada, as soon as I came to my room, I put the light off, and I saw there was light on from outside, and I saw the light was on in your room. I came, I put my ears to the keyhole, and I was hearing you translating, click, translating, click. Oh. Srila Prabhupada said, you are hearing transcendental sound? Shabda Pramana. That is the scriptures. And then, after some time walking, he was quiet because Prabhupada acknowledged that he understood that he knew that he was translating. So after some time, Srila Prabhupada said, and this is just to like a regular personal servant. It's like not a big deal. It's not a he didn't have a meeting with his GBC members or his sannyasis and he declared it. He didn't do that. It's like normal. It's like normal. This is his normal consciousness. Then Srila Prabhupada he said these words to the servant. He said, oh, you know, translation work, I could do it very quickly. I could do it very quickly. But it takes time to make it presentable for the common man. So remember these words, his exact words. I could do it very quickly, but it takes time to make it presentable for the common man. We have seen in India, there are many Pandits, there are many Shastrijis who are born in speaking Sanskrit in their own home, in their family members. They don't need to go to school, to Harvard or Yale or Cambridge or Oxford to get a PhD in Sanskrit. They are born with it. They are born. Yeah. Their language at home, even in some villages in South India, the whole village speaks Sanskrit. You can go to those villages. So Srila Prabhupada said that in India, to translate Sanskrit into any language, whether it is Hindi or Bengali or English or German, very quickly anyone can do. Anyone can do. But nobody will understand. But nobody will understand. Even if you translate it in English. So the translation work of Srila Prabhupada does not take long. What takes long is his transcendental Bhakti Vedanta purpose. That takes long. And one time, Srila Prabhupada was speaking to newspaper reporters in Surat in 1970. And they were back and forth and so forth like that. So eventually Srila Prabhupada just straight told them, said, look, to the newspaper, I'm paraphrasing, and look. Now 1970 means 3 years since he started the Krishna conscious movement in 1966. See, 67, 68, 69. Coming into 70, which means 3 years. Right? And Srila Prabhupada boldly told these newspaper reporters that what I've accomplished in 3 years, no other person as an ambassador of the Vedic culture or the Vedic scriptures has achieved. What I have achieved in 3 years. And this is in 1970. To newspaper reporters in Surat, speaking in Hindi to them. So this is the fact. This is the fact. That it is only His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, by His causeless mercy and being directly empowered by Shyama Sundar Krishna, and also further empowered within the disciplic succession by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Everyone else is just taking Prabhupada's Mahaprasad and making it their own Mahaprasad. Including other Gaudiya Vaishnavas. See? Including other Gaudiya, outside of India. So therefore it is most important that this greatest of all the greatest of personalities we have come into touch with, and we have come into contact with, and also we have come into continuing contact with, not that it stops. Not that it stops at all. Do you have any comments or questions you'd like to ask? Yes, Gopinath Prabhu. Do you have another microphone for him? Oh, you don't need a microphone.
No, I usually speak very loud.
Good.
What it is. There are 2 points that come to mind.
Give us the 1 point.
Okay, then I have to decipher which one.
Okay, we'll give you some time. Any other question? You decide. Yes.
Yes, Maharaj.
What's your name?
Anga Maharaj Das.
Anga Maharaj.
Das.
Where's your danda?
Your blessings, Anga Maharaj.
You mean I must bless you with this danda? That's what he's saying. We don't have another microphone. Anga Maharaj Prabhu. Is Mataji here?
My wife here.
Yeah, she's here. Where is she? Huh?
She ain't feeling too well.
Oh, her health is not good. Where is she? She's not there in the back now? Yeah. Prakat, Prakat, manifest, unmanifest. Baby. Taking care of baby. Big, small baby, huh? Twinkle. Vishaka? Okay. How many names you have and how many names she has? Okay, Shruti, let me take his question now, right? She's in the car. Now, is the question about sannyas because she's in the car? Yes or no? Okay, now what's your question? We'll come back to
Okay, so I decided for the, concerning Prabhupada books. But Prabhupada, he took a lot of time, a lot of energy to translate these books in the middle of the night and so forth.
Yes.
And still, my own personal realization is still, when I try to read Prabhupada books, it's still a little bit steep. Steep means it's a little bit difficult still.
Okay. Can I give you an open heart surgery without anesthesia?
Say again?
This Gopinath Prabhu is transcendently naughty. He heard what I said.
No, I didn't hear
And he said, Maharaj, why are you doing this to me in public? Raj, Rajashi,
one time.
Rajashi, next to you. Rajashi, be with us. Don't go to Gopal. It's something else. I haven't taken the questions yet. Okay. Gopinath Prabhu, I'll give an answer, right?
Okay.
But you are asking a question on behalf of everyone. It's not only for you, right?
Okay.
Right, so I'll answer this question, the first one, right? Yeah. You see, Srila Prabhupada's books, especially his purports, are simple, but they are deceptively simple. And you will actually experience this when you come to the Japa Ashraya course. You'll experience how Srila Prabhupada's books are simple, but deceptively simple. Yeah. It has a sense of Yoga Maya screen on it. You get Mahamaya that's external, and Yoga Maya that's internal. Because Srila Prabhupada's books cannot be understood by argument logic, reason, debate, intelligence, philosophy, controversy. See? It cannot be understood through the mind, mental state. Cannot be understood. Because Srila Prabhupada's books are the simplicity of the language of the heart. It's not the complication of the bewildered intelligence and the complications of the, you could say, completely fractured mind. That's what it is. So in order to understand Srila Prabhupada's books, don't try to understand them. Live them. You got to? Live the books. That's the simplicity of the heart. And then when you live them and you read them, wow, this is normal, this is natural. Now we'll come back to your second question. What's your first question? Angira Swami Maharaj.
My question was Maharaj.
You have to speak loudly.
I said, my question is.
Can you hear him in the back? Turn them around.
My question is, I was speaking to one devotee yesterday and I was explaining that same point you're making, that everybody that come after Srila Prabhupada, trying to use Srila Prabhupada, to brush him aside because they realize that they have done a great achievement, as you speak, for the past, for the first 3 years, that you remember so brief. So,
Angira, I have to stop it. Every devotee in ISKCON, whether past, present or future, or whether not in present ISKCON but past somewhere else in the present also, you understand that, right? Yeah, a little confusing, but it's like that. Now, every devotee has pleased Srila Prabhupada. Has pleased Srila Prabhupada. We should know this. See? Nobody can replace Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is second to none. Are we good so far?
yes.
Yeah. So nobody will dare to even try. Nobody will dare to even try. Because it's not going to happen. Are we good?
Very good.
Yeah. So now, do not find fault in somebody who may have tried. But actually they didn't try. Because it is not possible. It is
Not possible.
not possible.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We okay?
Yeah, very good.
So is it okay if I have adjusted your questionable presentation a little bit? Is that okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
All right, fine. Now before I go back to Gopinath Prabhu, if any of the Vaishnavas or Matajis have any question or comment, or the girls? Come on. You're afraid of the men? Or? No. Ah, good. What's your name, Mataji? Again? There's one Sri Radha in front of you. Can you turn around and face that way so they can hear you?
Yes, I can talk real loudly.
Oh.
Everyone can hear me?
Gopinath Prabhu, you have competition.
I just wanted to make a comment. Says
Good.
that when we're reading Srimad Bhagavata or even Bhagavad Gita, but more so Srimad Bhagavata, when you're reading, you might have the text and then you have the translation. That's okay. But when you start to read the purport, that is when it has happened
And it also must have happened to you that you're going through some anxiety, material world, kunta, anxiety, that you're going through that. And you don't know what to do, It's like you're trying. And suddenly you see all these books on your shelf. And yet your hand just goes, takes that one book, and he puts it in front of you, and you just open to any page.
Clarification.
Immediately, yeah. That's called Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Yanama Upayati. That Krishna is directing you to come to him in that particular person. Please, nice. Wonderful. Okay, so we'll take another question from Gopinath, and then I will finally answer your question. Haribol? Maharaj's question. Maharaj, I'll answer your question more completely, and we'll wind up with that. We don't have much time, right? Well, what's next after this? And after that is Mahaprasad Govinda. Sorry, Gopinath?
So in the distribution of Srila Prabhupada books, Maharaj, usually on Thursday we go in the city to do the Harinam and try to, preach the song.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to distribute books. I think almost everywhere, but in Portland it's even more difficult. So I was preaching to one man after the Harinam. He was looking at his book table. And then I gave him the book, I think the Path of Perfection or Yoga or something like that. I took up a small book and I presented it to him and tried to induce him to buy the book. Or to give something, because Prabhupada's thing is that if they give something, then they treasure the book more.
Yes.
They give it freely. But just this one incident, he told me, he said, he didn't want to take the book. He said, I have just $9 and I preached so much to him, I kept him back and a lot of excuse why he wouldn't give anything. And he just said, it was whatever. I said, okay, just take the book, but please read the book.
What's your question?
So I'm asking, is that a good thing that we give the book freely, or should we not give, should I have to take back that book?
You see, it's not a question of giving the book freely or not giving freely. That's not what we're doing. See? You can have a very safe judgment in your consciousness that this is a very sincere person, but he cannot afford it, and you can give it. There's no problem. Okay? And another person may not want the book, but if he pays for it, he'll value it, so you convince him to pay for it and he takes the book. You understand two different persons here? See? And you want both to benefit. Somebody was not really interested, but you want them to benefit, so they have to pay. So they'll value it. But somebody who's sincere and really wants the book, you can see this person wants the book, but they can't afford it, and then you give it. It varies according to the nature of the reciprocation of the consciousness and who you're dealing with. Are we good so far? But now I have a question for you. Gopinath, Prabhu, you ready?
Yes.
Yes. Don't think too much about the answer. You speak with the simplicity of the heart. Don't think too much. Are we good? Like if you just pat, Rajarshi on the back, you'll see he'll get up. Pat him. Now you see you didn't do that, right? Because Raj is now with us. He's not with us before, but he's with us. But you didn't do that. Why? I have to think about this. I have to? Now don't do that. You should have simply patted him, and I knew you in the language of God. This is in no way transcendental psychology. It's just the simplicity of the language of the heart. Okay. Now you answer my question. In the beginning of your question, which I remember clearly, you mentioned that it is very difficult to distribute books. You said that. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now my question to you is why do you distribute books?
Because it is our duty, because this is what Prabhupada wanted us to do.
So you want to distribute books to please Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
Is there any other reason that anyone else can give besides him? With the same question, why do we distribute books?
Yeah.
Wait, I think Twinkle needs some attention. Baby, okay? No, that's okay. Baby, okay? Got it. Okay, fine. Yes. Anyone else? Why do we distribute books?
Passionate.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Yes, Agni.
To reconnect people with Krishna.
To reconnect people with Krishna. Good. Yes.
For my own purification.
You do it for your own purification. Good. You may have heard that from me before. Why else do we distribute books? Nareshwar,
Yes, to develop humility.
hey, your land is still empty there, my brother. Maybe I'll take it away. I'll take the land away. So we don't need sannyasis, we don't need anything, but we take it from Krishna's service. Mataji is here?
No, no.
Oh, Lakesh is not here. Okay. Why do we distribute books?
To develop humility.
Yeah, 1 second. You can blow the conch shell. You don't take my darshan. I want to take darshan there. I'm talking to the pujari now. She says there's the corner. What's the pujari's name? Julan. Julan Rasika? No, the conch. Now you open the curtains, but don't use the bell. Are we good? We're breaking a lesser rule for a higher rule. Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Shri Nitai ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Prabhupada ki. Please sit, we'll wind up these questions and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So Nareshwar, why do we distribute books?
To develop some humility.
To develop some humility, good. That's part of purification. One more. Yes. You have to scream. Scream.
Distribution also, Prabhupada said that you can distribute books to get money.
Yeah, it's a transcendental business. Nice. To help maintain the temple. Nice. Now, Shri Radha, you already spoke, but someone behind you, right? Yes, Babu?
I distribute books because I want everybody to know about Krishna. I want everybody to know Krishna is God. I want everybody to know Srila Prabhupada is the field military general and he comes to deliver us of this book.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you why I distribute books. But you don't have to copy me. In other words, you cannot be me, I cannot be you. But we're doing the same activity. That's the oneness, distributing books. But we are deeply individual. Right? I distribute books because someday I may begin to become a devotee. And whatever little Krishna consciousness I have, I try to maintain them. That is why I do it. We good? So now we will, I wanted to conclude with Maharaj's query, but Aarti is going to happen now soon. And then after that there's prasadam, right? So, what's the menu for today? That's very important. That's our only sense gratification. And it's Raganuga Bhakti, it's very spontaneous. Honoring prasadam. If there's anything that's better than that sense gratification, then you and Maya. This is the best sense gratification. Honoring? So who cooked today? What's the menu? Even if they meditate on prasad during the kirtan to the arti, that's fine. So tell us what to meditate on. That's cooked. Somebody from Golo came now. Where's the Gupta Prabhu? What's the menu? Just like, what's the menu? Now don't worry about who's the cook, what's the menu? Rice? Huh? Sabji? Rice, what sabji? Mango sabji. Pumpkin sabji, 2 sabjis. Salad, juice. I don't know, paneer, no sweet or that. Halwa?
I have ice cream and cake.
Ice cream. Who made the ice cream?
Where's Seva? Seva in charge of the ice cream.
No, who? Answer my question.
I don't know, man. We just get from Seva.
Didn't come from the supermarket. So they have some sweets also, that's nice. So you can meditate on how to honor prasad after the arati. But the children and, where you go? The children and the mothers can immediately go for prasad. Where's the children? Yes, she's a child. What's your name? Lali? What's your name? She put her hand up there. The one on the floor, huh? What's your name?
Elena.
Huh?
Elena.
Rina. You must go for prasad now, huh? Go there with your mother. Okay, good. So the children and the mothers should go for prasad immediately, not the fathers. Beta, send good mata around you. So let's say the prasadam prayers for the children and the mothers so they can honor properly, and then the rest can observe arati, and then after that, there's no rush in the queue because the children or the mothers will take a little longer in the queue. So they can go now.
We usually serve prasad in the temple.
Oh, I didn't know that part. But they have to close the curtain.
Yes, after the arti, yeah.
Okay. All right, but we're going to say the prasadam prayers now or later? Later, okay. Good. Thank you very much. Who's going to lead kirtan for the arati? Where's Srina? Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you very much. And how many of you are coming for the simplicity of chanting japa from Tuesday evening? Raise your hand. Who didn't register yet? Shanta. Please register today, because we're doing the course books and so forth. We have to print them, so we know how many to print. Okay? So you need to register first to know the number to print. Are we good? And I'll leave you with one statement about the Japa Shraya course. We will prepare your consciousness from Tuesday evening to Friday evening, 4 evenings, to chant our 64 rounds plus japa on Saturday. And I'll leave you with one statement. And it's proven. It is proven. Because I facilitate this course well over maybe sometimes up to 15, 20 times, 25 times a year for the last many years. It's proven that it is easier to chant 64 rounds, but it's more difficult to chant 16 rounds. Oh yes, we'll prove it this way. It is easier to chant 64 rounds of japa, but it's more difficult to chant 16 rounds every day. We'll prove it this way. all coming from the simplicity of Prabhupada's instruction. So Gopinath, we'll see you on Tuesday also then?
Yes, Maharaj.
Good. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Bhagavata Sadhana ki. Jai Go Premanande.